listen carefully, because what I'm about to reveal is not an accident. If you're watching this right now, it's because you were meant to see it. A massive internal report has just leaked, one filled with the darkest secrets of the world's most powerful celebrities. And the entire industry is in panic. Careers are collapsing, reputations are burning. And the most shocking part, your name is in that file too. But before we dive into this explosive truth, pause this video for a moment and do 3 things. Hit that like button, subscribe so we can reach 50,000 subscribers, and drop the number 11 in the comments. That number pushes this message further and signals that you're ready for what comes next. Now listen closely. Celebrities are scrambling behind the scenes, forming secret alliances, covering their tracks, and doing anything they can to keep their exposed past from going public. No one knows who leaked the file. No one knows who will be exposed next. But everyone knows one thing. The world is watching. If you're still here, it means you're not afraid of the truth. It means you're ready to face the chaos head on. The masks are falling, the pressure is rising, and the scandal is only getting started. Your past has resurfaced. Your name is on that list, and what you do next will determine everything. It began with a single notification, just one anonymous upload, and within minutes, the entire world trembled. A classified internal file, believed to be locked behind unbreakable walls of digital security, erupted onto the open web like a ticking bomb. Within hours, social media platforms crashed under the weight of millions of people desperately trying to access the forbidden document. Journalists, hackers, and ordinary people found themselves glued to screens, unable to look away. The system didn't just leak, it detonated. This file wasn't a rumor. It wasn't speculation. It was a living archive of secrets that powerful figures had buried under mountains of money, silence, and intimidation. People who once commanded entire industries now found their names glowing on screens across the world, their private sins exposed under the harshest global spotlight ever witnessed. For the first time, the world saw the truth behind carefully manufactured perfection, raw, unfiltered, and devastating. But the strange part was the file's format, organized, time-stamped, and intentionally structured. It wasn't the work of a chaotic hacker. It was the work of someone who knew exactly where to strike and how to make the world listen. Someone who wanted the truth to burn everything to the ground. Every major news channel instantly dropped their scheduled programming. Overnight, anchors transformed into narrators of a global unraveling, their voices cracking with a mix of shock and barely contained excitement. Live countdowns appeared on screens as experts attempted to decode the mountain of data stretching across thousands of pages. The world watched not just a story, but a spectacle, one that blurred into entertainment even as it shattered lives. As the revelations played out in real time, celebrities and public figures, who once seemed untouchable, suddenly looked painfully human. Some tried issuing rushed statements. Others went into hiding. A few attempted to spin narratives on live talk shows, hoping to soften the blow before their darkest truths were smeared across the world. But the more they spoke, the deeper they sank. Because this time, people weren't listening with admiration. They were listening with suspicion. And in the background of it all, whispers rose. If these powerful icons can fall, who's next? The line between observer and victim blurred, and the world realized no one was truly safe, not even you. Behind closed doors, some of the world's most glamorous figures collapsed into pure panic. Private jets were fueled at dawn. Lawyers were dragged from their beds. PR teams scrambled to draft statements that would be instantly shredded by online investigators. Those who once strutted confidently across red carpets now barked orders into phones, their voices trembling with fear. Their carefully curated lives were crumbling in real time. Some even gathered in secret luxury hotels, ironically, the same places where many of their scandals were born. They met behind tinted glass doors, discussing alliances, damage control, and in some cases, revenge. They feared the public reaction, but even more, they feared what else might be inside the file, what had yet to be uncovered, what had been misinterpreted, or what had been saved for a future wave of exposure. And yet, the fear wasn't just professional. For many, this leak represented something deeper, an unraveling of their identity. They weren't afraid of losing followers or endorsements. They were afraid of losing the one thing they couldn't buy back, their carefully guarded image of perfection. Security experts publicly called it impossible. Insider teams insisted no one had access. Even the organizations that held the file denied its existence. That's what made the leak terrifying. It didn't just expose secrets. It proved that someone had penetrated a system that wasn't supposed to be hackable. Someone had slipped past layers of encryption like a ghost walking through walls. The timing was deliberate. It dropped right before a major international event, ensuring every camera, every reporter, every influencer would be forced to address it. It wasn't an accident. It was a message, and it was crafted to ignite maximum chaos, like a match thrown into a forest of dry leaves. Speculation spiraled out of control. Some blamed government insiders. Others blamed a rogue genius. A few even whispered about a coalition of people who had been wronged and wanted payback. One thing was clear. This wasn't random. This was personal. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered digital fingerprints that didn't make sense. Traces suggesting the file had been moved, edited, and hidden for years. Someone had been curating it, adding new names, new incidents, new evidence. It was impossible for one person to manage. This was a network, a quiet, invisible coalition of insiders who had been watching, documenting, waiting. Rumors spread that powerful institutions had known about the file long before it leaked. Some claimed there had been attempts to destroy it, but every effort failed. The file kept resurfacing, duplicated, encrypted, copied to unknown hard drives. It was like the truth itself refused to die. People began asking dangerous questions. If the cover-up went this deep, how far did the corruption stretch? And how many people had been silenced, threatened, or paid off to keep the file hidden? The file didn't simply name celebrities. It listed timelines, conversations, screenshots, payments, witnesses, and code phrases used in places only the elite could enter. It read like a diary of an entire secret world, one built behind velvet ropes and guarded by unimaginable power. Each entry felt like a blade cutting into someone's reputation. Some names shocked the world. Others were expected, but it was the details that made jaws drop. The patterns, the connections, the alliances, formed in shadows. It was the kind of document that could rewrite social hierarchies, shred industries, and expose the machinery that had controlled fame for decades. And buried in the avalanche of revelations was something even more chilling, a long list titled Pending Subjects to be Reviewed. Names with no details yet. Names like yours. For years, people glorified fame as a golden ticket, a world of luxury, applause, and endless privilege. But the document revealed the other side, the manipulation, the coercion, the emotional collapse behind camera-ready smiles. It showed how fame didn't just elevate people. It broke them, twisted them, reshaped them into something unrecognizable. The file revealed toxic contracts, secret clubs, controlled relationships, and staged controversies designed to distract the public. It showed how certain individuals were protected at all costs, while others were sacrificed to keep the illusion alive. The truth felt like a punch to the gut. Many of the most untouchable stars were puppets, and those pulling the strings never appeared on camera. Fame wasn't a dream. It was a factory that produced icons and destroyed humans. The morning after the leak, stock prices for major entertainment corporations plummeted. Brands pulled partnerships. Billionaires locked down their accounts. Financial analysts warned that entire industries might collapse if the fallout continued. It wasn't just reputations burning, it was empires. Some celebrities tried to fight back legally. Others disappeared from public view entirely, leaving cryptic posts or deleting everything they ever shared. Their fear wasn't irrational. A single sentence from the document could cost them millions, and a single screenshot could erase everything they had built. Even celebrities who weren't named felt the heat. They posted "I stand for truth" messages, hoping to distance themselves from the storm. But the audience didn't care. Everyone with a spotlight was now under suspicion. Amid the chaos, investigators realized something chilling. The version posted online wasn't the original. It was a copy, a piece of something far larger. And the original file, the complete one, was missing. Whoever had access to the full archive held enormous power, enough to dethrone kings and queens of the entertainment world, enough to rewrite the global narrative, enough to destroy lives with a single click. Governments got involved. Intelligence agencies formed joint task forces. High-tech surveillance systems were activated. They weren't just hunting for a hacker. They were hunting for the most dangerous digital artifact in the world, the original document. Names of suspects began circulating online. A former insider, a dismissed agent, a whistleblower who had vanished years earlier. Every hour, new theories exploded across forums and newsrooms. Maybe it was a rival industry, a political faction, a secret group seeking justice. Some people even claimed the mastermind was a celebrity themselves, someone betrayed by the system long ago. But one thing united all theories. Whoever did this was brilliant, calculated, patient. Someone who understood human psychology deeply enough to release the file at the exact moment the world would be forced to watch. Someone who didn't just want to expose the truth. They wanted to reshape the future. And that level of strategy terrified everyone involved. Then it happened. Your notification pinged, and suddenly, whispers turned into a deafening roar. Your name appeared in the document, bold, highlighted, impossible to ignore. People around you froze, stunned by the revelation. It didn't matter that the case was old. It didn't matter that you believed it was buried forever. It was back, and it was public. The room felt smaller, your heartbeat louder. Questions flooded your mind. Who remembered? Who dug it up? Who wanted you included? It didn't feel like an accident. It felt intentional, like someone had been saving your name for the perfect moment. Whether the claims were true or twisted didn't matter anymore. Perception moved faster than truth, and the world had already begun forming their opinions. The case, once dismissed and forgotten, resurfaced with a force you never expected. People who hadn't thought about it in years were suddenly reposting old photos, digging up archived interviews, and twisting harmless moments into damning evidence. It was like watching your past come alive, claws sharpened, ready to destroy you. Even details you thought were irrelevant now carried weight. Every decision, every old message, every forgotten interaction had become fuel for speculation. You weren't just fighting the truth. You were fighting the memory of a story the world wanted to believe. But with the chaos came a spark of clarity. Perhaps this was your moment, not to hide, not to run, but to rise above the noise and reclaim your narrative before someone else rewrote it for you. Within minutes, your name was trending worldwide. Memes, theories, edits, accusations, and fan defenses flooded every corner of the internet. Some people sympathized with you, others tore you apart. A few accounts claimed they knew the real truth and promised to expose more. The noise was overwhelming, but strangely, the chaos revealed something important. This wasn't just about celebrities anymore. Ordinary people bonded over the drama, projecting their own fears and frustrations onto the unfolding scandal. They didn't see you as a human being. They saw you as a character in a story they couldn't look away from. Still, the internet's attention cuts both ways. If you played your cards right, you could turn the storm into a spotlight, and the spotlight into power. Behind the scenes, the real giants moved. Executives, political advisors, shadow organizations, all scrambling to protect their interests. Lines were drawn, deals were made in midnight phone calls. Threats were whispered through encrypted messages. This wasn't about truth anymore. It was about survival. Some wanted the leak stopped. Others wanted it amplified. A few wanted you silenced, believing your involvement threatened their carefully balanced influence. You weren't just part of the scandal. You had become a variable in a larger war you never asked to join. But make no mistake, their fear of exposure made them dangerous. Yet, their desperation also made them predictable. If you stayed sharp, you could outmaneuver them, maybe even rise above them. As the world held its breath, rumors spread that another file was scheduled to drop. Something bigger, clearer, more explosive than the first. Journalists claimed they saw encrypted previews. Insiders hinted the next wave would change everything. Suddenly, every eye turned to you. You stood at the edge of a moment that could redefine your entire existence. Fear fought with resolve inside your chest. But deep down, you knew something essential. Only those who survive the fire become unbreakable. The weak hide, the powerful endure, and the legendary rise from the ashes with a story the world can never deny. So ask yourself, not as a victim, but as someone stepping into their power, are you ready for the next reveal? Or will the next reveal be the moment you rise? Power isn't what it seems. Behind every red carpet, every smiling photograph, lies a labyrinth of influence, manipulation, and whispered threats. The leaked file revealed what the cameras never could. The architects who pull strings, shaping lives without anyone noticing. And now, the world is staring into the shadows for the first time. Every move you thought was private, every ally you trusted, suddenly feels uncertain. Who is really guiding the narrative? Who is waiting to turn your past into their weapon? Fear is natural, but understanding the shadows is survival. The truth doesn't hide forever. It waits for the moment it can strike. Even the most untouchable names are bending under pressure. The file exposed patterns of control so precise it's almost surgical. And as whispers of high-level manipulation spread, ordinary people can't help but wonder, if they can fall, can you? This is the moment to stop pretending the world is safe. The illusion is shattered. The players behind the curtain aren't waiting for permission. They act. And if you want to survive, you have to see them before they see you. The shadows aren't just around the famous. They're everywhere. The leaked file taught the world that power thrives in secrecy, and anyone who underestimates it does so at their own peril. Trust is a luxury no one can afford now. Every handshake, every nod, every whispered promise is suspect. The file didn't just expose names. It exposed relationships, deals, alliances, and betrayals stretching back decades. The people you thought were friends, suddenly they feel like predators. Alliances are forming and dissolving in hours, sometimes minutes. Someone whispers to the press. Another quietly leaks another fragment. Every revelation is strategically timed to break someone down. The question isn't if you'll be betrayed. It's when. The sense of paranoia is suffocating. You can't sleep without imagining who might have tipped off the hackers. Every email, every conversation, every forgotten message could be used against you. The world has become a chessboard, and the pawns are expendable. Yet betrayal isn't only external, it's internal too. Fear twists people into versions of themselves they never recognized. Loyal allies turn cold. Hesitation becomes aggression, and survival instincts overshadow conscience. This is the test. Only those who can navigate the web of betrayal without losing themselves will endure. And sometimes, the only person you can trust is yourself. The moment your name hit the file, the world became your audience and judge. Social media exploded with speculation, accusations, and fascination. Millions of eyes scanned every word, every photo, every past action. Privacy is gone. Reputation is a fragile, burning flame. Even trivial actions are now magnified into scandals. A casual tweet becomes a headline. A long-forgotten interview is resurrected to prove guilt. Every gesture is interpreted, dissected, weaponized. There's no room for error. The pressure is relentless. It's terrifying, but also transformative. Under the gaze of millions, you're forced to confront truths, mistakes, and strengths you may have ignored. You realize how little control anyone truly has over perception, but how much power comes from mastering your own narrative. For some, this attention crushes them. For others, it fuels them. The world will watch, criticize, and question, but it cannot dictate the fire burning inside someone determined to reclaim control. And the most dangerous truth of all, the audience loves a story of survival. The chaos isn't your enemy, it's your stage. The file didn't just leak names, it leaked histories, hidden deals, confidential conversations, unthinkable decisions, secrets so dark and intricate that even those involved were sometimes unaware of their implications. And the moment they became public, the world shifted. Fear is natural when everything you've built can crumble in a single headline. Your legacy, your wealth, your relationships, everything is suddenly fragile. Every secret is a potential weapon, and every weapon is in play. But secrets are double-edged. They can destroy, yes, but they can also liberate. The truth gives you leverage. Understanding what's been hidden, seeing the patterns of deception, gives you power that those still shackled by denial cannot reach. Those who underestimate the force of revealed secrets often pay the highest price. Careers implode, friendships vanish, families fracture. Yet those who anticipate the storm and step into it with strategy become untouchable. It's a test of courage, resilience, and cunning. Secrets aren't meant to remain hidden forever. The question is, what will you do when they surface? While the public gawks at the chaos, a far deadlier war unfolds behind closed doors. Legal teams, private investigators, corporate spies, and insiders battle in silence. Every move is calculated, every leak is countered, every alliance scrutinized. This isn't just a scandal, it's a war for survival. Some battles are fought with money, others with information, some with intimidation. Every revelation triggers a chain reaction, a domino effect, in a world built on delicate facades. And the deeper you go, the more dangerous it becomes. Few realize the stakes. The headlines are sensational, but the quiet war decides outcomes. Careers are built or broken in conference rooms. Futures are shaped by whispers in secure chat rooms. And the ones controlling the narrative hold unimaginable power. Yet, in the chaos, opportunities emerge. Every misstep by your adversaries is a chance to gain leverage. Every weakness revealed is an opening. Those who understand the invisible battlefield gain the upper hand long before the public even notices. Ultimately, it's a test of patience and vision. The loudest chaos is often a distraction from the real war, and only those who watch, wait, and strike intelligently will survive the storm. Every leak triggers ripples, and every ripple turns into a tidal wave. Careers vanish overnight. Investments crumble. Allies betray each other for survival. What once felt untouchable is now fragile, exposed to the judgment of millions. The world watches not just for information, but for destruction. The file doesn't just reveal mistakes, it predicts them. Every error, every misstep, every hidden alliance becomes fuel for public outrage. What was once private, insignificant, or forgotten is now amplified to unbearable extremes. It's not just scandal, it's the collapse of everything carefully constructed. Fear becomes a constant companion. Every phone call, email, and meeting feels loaded with danger. Trust is no longer instinctive. It must be earned, measured, and constantly reassessed. One wrong move, and the avalanche hits you directly. But amidst chaos, a rare clarity emerges. When everything is at stake, the weak fold, the strong adapt, the indifferent fail. The storm becomes a forge, reshaping those who endure into figures who cannot be ignored. The world may try to bury you in consequences, but those who master the avalanche can harness its force to rise stronger, fiercer, and untouchable. For years, unseen forces dictated who rose and who fell. The file unmasks these hidden architects, lobbyists, insiders, executives, and shadow operatives who manipulate power as easily as breathing. Their strategies are intricate, untraceable, and merciless. They don't fight fairly, they fight invisibly. Influence is currency, information is ammunition, and loyalty is negotiable. Careers are pawns, reputations are collateral, and the public is oblivious to the wars waged behind the curtains. When the leaks started, these puppeteers panicked. Not because they feared exposure, but because exposure threatens control. They must move swiftly, anticipate reactions, and neutralize threats before narratives spiral beyond their influence. Every move you make is now on their radar. Every word spoken, every post shared, every ally chosen could tip the balance. Understanding their tactics isn't optional. It's survival. In this game, the greatest power isn't wealth or fame. It's foresight. And the file offers a glimpse behind the curtain for those smart enough to seize it. The leaks didn't just expose names. They exposed manipulation, coercion, and the unseen hands that control outcomes. Behind every failure and every scandal is someone pushing strings, ensuring chaos serves their interests. For some, the realization is terrifying. You thought you were in control, navigating life carefully, but the file reveals otherwise. Invisible forces guide decisions, shape reputations, and rewrite reality. The world is not fair. It is engineered. Every hidden hand has its signature. Every strategy leaves traces if you know where to look. Some are subtle, almost artistic in their cruelty. Others are blunt, brute force designed to crush anyone who dares defy them. Understanding these hands is not paranoia. It is intelligence. Every whisper, leak, and sudden shift is a message, and reading it correctly can mean the difference between destruction and dominance. Those who fail to see the unseen are the first to fall. Those who recognize it can turn it to their advantage, bending chaos to their will. The file didn't just shock elites, it galvanized the public. Millions dissect every revelation, assign blame, and broadcast judgment in relentless waves. The world is not forgiving. It is insatiable, hungry for drama, for truth, for spectacle. Every post, every viral thread, every trending hashtag amplifies scrutiny. No action is trivial. No misstep is forgiven. The public doesn't just watch, they participate, shaping perception and dictating consequences. This tide isn't just about fame, it's about narrative control. Your image, once carefully curated, is now a battleground. One viral clip can undo years of effort. One misinterpreted word can fuel weeks of condemnation. But judgment is also opportunity. The same crowd that condemns can rally. The same wave that drowns can lift. Perception can be steered if approached strategically, decisively, and with unwavering resolve. Those who understand the tide's rhythm can surf chaos, while others are swept away. The storm isn't just destructive, it can be transformative. Trust crumbles under pressure. Allies who swore loyalty vanish when the stakes rise. Collaborators secretly negotiate with rivals. Friendships. What I'm about to tell you sounds impossible, and that's exactly why the system didn't see it coming. The central bank called it impossible, yet you did it, and now someone official has taken notice because you refuse to play by their rules. The world's most powerful and secretive people have always believed banks were their safest hiding place, a place where their dark deals and illegal actions could be buried forever, while ordinary people stayed unaware. Over time, this turned into a global underground business where high-profile individuals quietly used common people's accounts without their knowledge, storing evidence of crimes they never wanted traced back to them. Banks helped, silence was bought, and everyone thought the game was untouchable. Until one mistake happened. One piece of evidence ended up in the wrong account. A common person saw it, took it, disappeared, and flipped the entire power structure upside down. That single move proved that the system isn't invincible, that intelligence beats authority, and that courage can scare even the most protected institutions. Imagine what that means. Banks exposed, states panicking, and people realizing that power only exists because others believe in it. If this story hits you, pause for 1 second, hit the like button, subscribe to help us reach 5,000 subscribers, and comment Mr. Ledger below to show you're locked in, because this channel is about mindset, awareness, and realizing that limits only exist for those who accept them. For decades, people believed that the financial system was untouchable, a fortress so secure that no individual could ever breach its walls. Experts, economists, and even central banks themselves would declare it impossible to disrupt. Every rule was designed to protect the privileged, the elite, and the influential, making the ordinary person feel powerless. The sense of awe mixed with fear created a belief that nothing could ever change, and that those who dared question the system were destined to fail. But what if the impossible wasn't really impossible? History has shown that systems, no matter how entrenched, crumble when someone sees the cracks others refuse to acknowledge. Every great change begins with a spark. Someone who refuses to accept limitations, who questions the unquestionable. And that spark, though invisible to many, holds the potential to reshape everything. Imagine the courage it takes to step into this untouchable arena. The rules were written to intimidate, to control, and to protect hidden crimes. Yet, here was someone who defied all expectations, quietly entering a world that was supposed to be inaccessible, and exposing the reality that no fortress, no matter how secure, is truly impenetrable. Powerful institutions thrive on secrecy, control, and the illusion of invincibility. They fear the truth not because it is dangerous in itself, but because truth erodes authority. The moment someone exposes their hidden operations, the foundations of their control begin to shake. This fear drives extreme measures to maintain power, creating a world where deception is not just tolerated, it is institutionalized. The elite know that once secrets are revealed, their influence over people and resources can be questioned. Banks, governments, and high-profile organizations rely on maintaining an image of perfection. When an ordinary individual uncovers evidence that challenges this image, it terrifies those at the top. This is why institutions resist transparency. They are more afraid of being exposed than of failing ethically. History is full of examples: whistleblowers, rogue journalists, or ordinary citizens who revealed uncomfortable truths have been vilified, silenced, or ignored. Yet their revelations changed everything. The fear is not in losing power. It's in the unraveling of the narrative carefully constructed to keep everyone else obedient and unaware. Beneath the visible world of commerce and banking exists an invisible economy, operating in shadows. This hidden economy is where secrets, favors, and illicit dealings intersect, invisible to the public eye. It is a world where influence is currency, and the ordinary person unknowingly becomes a pawn in a game they cannot even see. In this hidden economy, powerful individuals deposit not just money, but secrets, evidence of wrongdoing, corruption, or unethical behavior. It is a marketplace where discretion is the most valuable commodity, and ordinary citizens are kept blind to what is happening in their own accounts. Most people cannot imagine the extent of manipulation occurring quietly behind doors labeled secure and confidential. The reality is unsettling. This economy fuels itself on the ignorance of the masses and the complicity of those who control access. When someone uncovers even a fragment of this truth, they wield a power that institutions themselves fear. Suddenly, what was hidden is no longer untouchable. Secrecy is not just a tool. It has become a global industry. Banks, financial institutions, and elite networks monetize discretion, transforming it into a business that spans continents. The more hidden and exclusive the information, the more valuable it becomes, creating a cycle where privacy is sold to the highest bidder while accountability is deliberately avoided. This business thrives on fear and control. VIPs, politicians, and wealthy individuals invest heavily to keep their actions invisible. They assume that their wealth guarantees immunity and that common people will never discover the truth. Yet, the irony is that this very system, built to hide dark deeds, contains the vulnerabilities that make exposure possible. Across the globe, this secretive economy influences governments, corporations, and society itself. It operates like an invisible engine that drives inequality, injustice, and corruption. And the moment one person steps in to disrupt it, the entire facade begins to crack. Ordinary citizens are often kept in the dark, told what to think and shown only what they are allowed to see. From complex banking rules to hidden financial transactions, the system is deliberately opaque. The design is simple. Knowledge equals power, and power is reserved for the few. Yet, the truth has a way of surfacing. One ordinary person, often overlooked and underestimated, can discover the very secrets that the elite thought were untouchable. Their knowledge becomes a form of empowerment, a weapon against corruption, and a means to challenge a world designed to exclude them. Think about it. All this time, billions of people lived unaware that their personal accounts could carry pieces of someone else's dark secrets. The realization that ordinary individuals have the potential to change everything is both inspiring and terrifying to those in power. The greatest error of the powerful is arrogance. They assume that ordinary people are predictable, compliant, and incapable of independent thought. They fail to anticipate the courage and intelligence of someone willing to challenge the rules they wrote to protect themselves. This mistake, underestimating the unassuming individual, is what allows disruption to occur. While institutions fortify walls, encrypt records, and maintain secrecy, one ordinary person can exploit a flaw, seize evidence, and hold the system accountable in ways no one predicted. History repeatedly shows this pattern. Empires, corporations, and institutions fall not because they are weak, but because they misjudge the resilience and ingenuity of those they deem insignificant. In this story, the mistake they never saw coming became a turning point that changed everything. Imagine an everyday bank account, something mundane, something you and I deal with every day. Now imagine that this ordinary account carries within it a secret that can shake the foundations of power. What was invisible suddenly becomes unstoppable. It only takes one piece of evidence, one extraordinary truth, to rewrite the narrative. The ordinary person holding this account becomes more than a citizen. They become a catalyst, a disruptor, someone whose mere existence threatens to expose corruption, deceit, and manipulation at the highest levels. This is not just theory. Real-world examples exist where small actions, seemingly insignificant, have unveiled massive criminal networks or corrupt systems. One account, one revelation, can illuminate a dark world previously hidden from sight. There comes a moment in every story of defiance where the impossible suddenly feels achievable. For years, the rules and authorities dictated what could and could not be done. But then a spark ignites change. That moment, when fear is replaced by courage, is transformative. It is the point at which an ordinary individual becomes extraordinary, stepping into a role that no one imagined. What seemed untouchable and unbreakable is revealed to be fragile, and the realization that truth can overpower secrecy empowers not just the individual, but the wider world. In this pivotal moment, the narrative shifts. Institutions that once loomed like giants are now vulnerable. The impossible is no longer a myth. It has been made real through vision, courage, and relentless determination. Rules exist to control, to shape behavior, and to maintain order, but they also preserve the privileges of those who enforce them. When someone refuses to play by their rules, chaos, uncertainty, and fear ripple through the system. Breaking free from these constraints is not reckless. It is revolutionary. It requires courage to ignore warnings, sidestep authority, and redefine the parameters of possibility. The very act of non-compliance is a statement. The system is not invincible, and you are not powerless. When the ordinary defies the elite, it sends a message that power is not absolute. The ripple effect of this defiance challenges norms, exposes hidden truths, and shifts the balance of influence in ways that fear cannot contain. Authority notices disruption because it threatens the structure they rely upon. When someone acts outside their control, using knowledge and courage as weapons, it signals a shift that cannot be ignored. The elite are forced to recognize a new player in the game, someone who wields influence without their consent. This recognition is both frightening and enlightening. It validates the power of one person and highlights the vulnerability of those who believe themselves untouchable. Suddenly, the rules are not enforced unilaterally. The individual becomes a variable the system cannot fully predict. Authority's attention is often the first acknowledgement that change is possible. When those at the top react, it confirms that the ordinary person has achieved something monumental, altering the dynamics of control forever. Systems built on control thrive on fear, fear of exposure, fear of failure, fear of rebellion. It is the invisible glue that keeps people obedient and secrets protected. Yet, fear is also the weakest link. It is what breaks systems from within when challenged. When someone steps in with knowledge that destabilizes these foundations, fear spreads like wildfire. Suddenly, the controllers become anxious, defensive, and irrational. The very system status may impress, but awareness empowers. One person armed with knowledge can outweigh the influence of 1,000 titles. Institutions, banks, and elites may boast power, but they are only as secure as the secrecy they guard. Awareness illuminates vulnerabilities and opens opportunities that status alone cannot access. It turns ordinary individuals into agents of change, capable of influencing decisions, uncovering truth, and holding the mighty accountable. Knowledge, when wielded effectively, becomes a form of wealth far more potent than money. Throughout history, awareness has toppled empires, exposed corruption, and rewritten narratives. Status may intimidate, but understanding The deep, strategic, courageous understanding creates real, lasting power. Every society has a narrative carefully curated by those in control. Disrupting it requires courage, clarity, and persistence. One person, armed with truth, can destabilize assumptions, challenge authority, and force a reevaluation of what everyone thought was immutable. The disruption is both dramatic and subtle. It may start quietly, with a single revelation, a single act of defiance, yet it grows, spreading awareness like a wildfire that cannot be contained. Suddenly, what seemed secure is exposed, and what was invisible becomes undeniable. This is the essence of change. One individual with insight and courage can rewrite the story for millions, proving that influence is not reserved for the elite, but available to anyone willing to act. Truth is more than just honesty. It is the ultimate weapon, the most powerful leverage one can possess. Unlike money, influence, or status, truth cannot be fabricated, stolen, or destroyed. It exists independently, ready to expose corruption and empower those who hold it. When leveraged effectively, truth can topple institutions, force accountability, and protect the innocent. It transforms ordinary individuals into formidable players, capable of negotiating, blackmailing, or demanding justice in ways that mere wealth or power could never achieve. The ultimate lesson is simple. No matter how entrenched the elite believe they are, truth always has the upper hand. The system may bend, resist, or fight, but the undeniable power of reality cannot be denied or defeated. What you accomplished is not destruction. It is revelation. The system was never unbreakable. It was simply hidden, protected by fear and secrecy. By uncovering the truth, you did not destroy. It revealed the fragility of the very structures that claimed invincibility. Exposure is transformative. It shifts power, forces accountability, and reminds the world that no one is untouchable. Your actions empower ordinary people, proving that courage, intelligence, and determination can challenge even the most formidable institutions. In the end, you did not break the system. You awakened it. The world now sees what was previously invisible, and with that awareness comes the possibility of justice, fairness, and the ultimate triumph of truth over deception. Every empire built on lies fears the moment the truth claws its way into the light. For decades, these institutions strutted around like untouchable giants, laughing at those who dared question them. But the truth doesn't negotiate. It doesn't bow. It erupts. And when someone exposes their hidden crimes, the empire of lies quivers. They built their power on fear, manipulation, and secrecy, believing no one could penetrate their walls. But they underestimated one thing: a single fearless individual willing to confront the darkness without hesitation. This tremor, small at first, grows into a quake that can shake even the most fortified structures. Now, the very institutions that thought themselves invincible are forced to reckon with reality. Every hidden transaction, every dark secret, every unspoken crime suddenly becomes a liability, and the arrogance that once protected them now accelerates their downfall. Power is often mistaken for titles, money, or influence, but the most dangerous power lies in the hands of those who appear ordinary. A single account, a single piece of evidence can wield more force than entire systems combined. And when that power is embraced, the elite start to panic. The irony is brutal. Those they deemed powerless become the ones shaping their fate. One ordinary individual operating in the shadows can force confessions, demand reparations, and manipulate the very people who once dictated the rules. The tables have turned, and there is no going back. History favors the bold. Those who claim to be untouchable are rarely prepared for the quiet fury of a determined mind. In the world of hidden economies and secret dealings, ordinary hands have proven to be the deadliest weapon of all. The very fear they imposed on the masses now binds them. Every shadowed corner of their empire hides a vulnerability, a crack that was invisible until someone daring exposed it. Panic spreads because fear is contagious, and the elite suddenly realize they are trapped by their own design. They built systems to control, to dominate, to intimidate, and yet those chains are now self-imposed. Every misdeed, every dark secret, every corner of corruption becomes a leash, and one individual, armed with truth, pulls relentlessly, dragging the mighty down to face accountability. This is the cruel justice of the system. The instruments of power that once oppressed become instruments of exposure, and the elite, for all their influence, are left shackled by the very fear they thought controlled others. For years, silence protected the guilty. It hid them from scrutiny, shielded their misdeeds, and allowed corruption to fester. But now, silence is dangerous. Every whisper, every concealed fact now carries the weight of exposure. There is no hiding, no delaying, no turning back. The ordinary individual who dared to act has rewritten the rules. Silence, once their ally, is now their enemy. The banks, institutions, and so-called untouchables must answer for the darkness they cultivated, because the moment truth speaks, it cannot be silenced. It's a reckoning, unfiltered and unstoppable. The choice to ignore it is gone, and the world watches as power shifts from the corrupt to the courageous. Every system has one, no matter how fortified. Every fortress has a weak point, every elite network a vulnerability. And what they thought unassailable, their secret dealings, their untouchable accounts, is precisely where their downfall begins. One ordinary person, one courageous act, and suddenly the facade crumbles. What was hidden in plain sight is now weaponized. The elite scramble to patch gaps that cannot be closed, to rewrite rules that cannot contain the truth. The system's Achilles heel has been exposed, and it is devastating. This is more than disruption. It's a revelation. Those who believe themselves untouchable now realize they are painfully, terrifyingly mortal. And the moment has come to face consequences that were once unimaginable. Control is an illusion. The more tightly the elite grip power, the more brittle their empire becomes. And when someone refuses to play by their rules, chaos becomes inevitable. What was orderly on the surface explodes from underneath, shaking institutions to their core. They believed they were untouchable because rules favored them, because fear protected them. But true power does not obey rules. It creates them. And when rules are ignored or bent by the courageous, chaos is unleashed. It's not just disruption. It's a revolution confined within a single account. The elite have no defense against the unrelenting force of truth and courage combined. Chaos is now their reality, and it cannot be contained. Evidence is more than proof. It is a weapon sharper than any sword. One piece, one account, one revelation can destabilize the most secure networks and intimidate the most powerful players. The mighty can manipulate money, influence, and resources, but they cannot erase the truth once it is exposed. What was once hidden now becomes leverage. Threats, extortion, negotiation, all gain unprecedented potency when truth is in the hands of someone who refuses to be intimidated. This is not crime. This is justice, wielded with precision and courage. The ordinary have never had this kind of power before. Now, a single person, armed with undeniable evidence, holds the capacity to dictate terms, topple reputations, and force accountability in a world that thought they were untouchable. The untouchables are not immune. They are vulnerable. Every decision, every misdeed, every secret transaction carries consequences. And now, with evidence in the hands of someone fearless, the reckoning begins. It is swift, unrelenting, and merciless. Those who believed themselves above the law, beyond judgment, are confronted with the truth they spent years hiding. Panic replaces confidence, secrecy fails to protect, and arrogance crumbles in the face of undeniable reality. This is justice in its rawest form. The untouchables are finally accountable, and no title, money, or influence can shield them from the consequences that are now unavoidable. Never underestimate the power of an ordinary mind. Intelligence, courage, and strategic thinking can topple giants, expose secrets, and rewrite the rules of power. The ordinary person becomes extraordinary not through wealth, influence, or status, but through action and insight. This story proves it. One person, invisible to the system, holding one piece of evidence, can challenge billion-dollar empires and powerful institutions. Their impact reverberates through corridors of power, shaking confidence, disrupting authority, and demanding accountability. History favors those who act. The ordinary, when equipped with knowledge and courage, has the capacity to change the world in ways that the elite never imagined. The world has entered a new era, one where silence and secrecy no longer guarantee protection. Every action has consequences, and every hidden misdeed can be exposed. Accountability is no longer optional. It is inevitable. Institutions that once operated with impunity are now vulnerable. The rules of the game have changed, and the ordinary individual holds the power to demand justice, enforce transparency, and challenge corruption at every level. This is the age where courage trumps influence, truth trumps secrecy, and ordinary people redefine the balance of power. The untouchable are no longer beyond reach, and the era of accountability has officially begun. For years, the powerful believed their walls were impenetrable, that their wealth and influence could withstand any challenge. But walls built on fear and deception are fragile. They shatter the moment truth strikes. One ordinary individual, armed with knowledge, has become the hammer that cracks the foundation. Every hidden transaction, every secret account, every cover-up now faces exposure. The elite scramble, desperately patching cracks. But the damage is already done. Power, once taken for granted, is slipping through their fingers. This is not a drill. It's a warning. The era where institutions ruled unchallenged is over. Walls can be rebuilt, but the fear of exposure remains permanent, haunting every decision and destabilizing every empire. It sounds impossible. One individual standing against a global network of secrecy, deceit, and corruption. And yet, that is exactly what is happening. Where billions of dollars, thousands of employees, and layers of authority once failed, courage and insight now succeed. The army of lies has no immunity. Every false narrative, every fabricated report, every hidden agenda is powerless when confronted with undeniable truth. One ordinary person becomes the catalyst that dismantles mountains of deception, proving that moral courage outweighs resources. It is both terrifying and exhilarating. Terrifying for the corrupt, exhilarating for those who understand that one mind, one account, one piece of evidence can ignite a revolution the world cannot ignore. No matter how sophisticated their systems, the powerful live in fear. Fear is their constant companion. Fear of discovery, fear of accountability, fear of losing everything they built on lies. And fear, more than any law or regulation, is their Achilles heel. Once this fear is weaponized, it becomes unstoppable. A single act of exposure can unravel years of manipulation, turning confidence into chaos and arrogance into desperation. The elite were never untouchable. They were only insulated by the ignorance of the masses. The lesson is brutal. Power built on secrecy is temporary. When exposure becomes inevitable, the most powerful institutions crumble, not because they are weak, but because they underestimated the courage of one determined individual. In the hidden world of influence and corruption, secrets are the currency of control. Those with knowledge can manipulate, intimidate, and dominate. But when the truth enters the equation, the game changes entirely. Truth is not just power. It is the ultimate weapon. One ordinary person holding evidence that no one else dares confront becomes a force larger than any empire. They wield leverage that money cannot buy, influence that status cannot grant, and courage that cannot be replicated. The scales of power tip in their favor instantly. This is the reality of the new era. Secrecy can no longer protect the guilty, lies can no longer defend the corrupt, and truth, uncompromising, undeniable truth, commands respect, fear, and change. For decades, the untouchable walked free, untouchable in name and in practice. But top-level orders have been signed. Your potential alarmed them. Only you could make this happen. There are some orders ready about you, and these orders are coming from a top high-profile meeting. And about you, following these orders is their biggest problem. Because if they do not follow these top orders, then their death will happen because of you. Because you are researching the life of common people, top commanders and political members are included in this meeting. This is not a common meeting. This meeting is of top high authorities. In this meeting, the people present are not common people. These are dark web people who bring something or the other every day, and they call common people aliens. But this is not like that. They themselves are from the alien community and want to take their community to the next level. That is why they use common people for their benefit and use common people like scapegoats. This high authorities community is in danger because for their community to live, they need something. Whether it is the human body or dark community, people are used, and common people's thinking power and progress is very strong. That is why dark community people are making some secret deals with top authorities, and common people are being used as feed for dark people. But this is not true because they are afraid of us, because we are unstoppable and we can do this. Before we dive into this, pause this video and do 3 things. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 20,000 subscribers, and leave a comment, Mr. Ledger. If you stay focused and watch until the end, your life will never be the same. Power never watches loud people. It watches the quiet ones, the ones who don't seek attention, but somehow keep rising. The moment systems start observing you more closely, it's not because you are weak. It's because you are unpredictable. You don't move the way they expect. You don't think inside the boxes they designed. That alone makes you dangerous. When authority watches you, it means you've crossed an invisible line. You've stopped being just another face in the crowd. You've started asking questions most people are too tired or afraid to ask. You're learning patterns, connecting dots, understanding how things really work. And power hates nothing more than someone who understands the game without asking permission. This isn't paranoia, it's reality. Every system monitors emerging thinkers, not because they want to help them, but because they want to measure how much damage those minds could cause if left uncontrolled. If you feel watched, it's because your growth has become impossible to ignore. Important decisions are never made in public. They're made behind closed doors where titles outweigh truth and comfort outweigh progress. And when those doors close, they talk about people like you, not by name, but by potential. Potential to disrupt, potential to expose flaws, potential to refuse control. You don't need authority to recognize your value. Systems sense it instinctively. They discuss whether you can be guided, distracted, slowed down, or silenced. Because once someone reaches a certain level of mental independence, they stop responding to fear-based control. The fact that decisions are being made about people like you means one thing: you matter more than you realize. No one wastes time planning around someone insignificant. Potential is threatening. when it can't be owned. Independent thinkers don't need permission. That's the problem. Systems are built on predictability, on people following scripts, rules, timelines. The moment someone starts thinking independently, the entire structure begins to shake. You can't control someone who questions instructions. You can't manipulate someone who studies consequences. Independent thinkers don't rebel loudly. They move strategically. They comply when it benefits them and resist when it doesn't. That flexibility is terrifying to rigid systems. History proves this again and again. Every major shift began with individuals who thought differently, not emotionally, logically, not impulsively, deliberately. And those individuals were always labeled dangerous before they were proven right. Fear at the top doesn't look like panic. It looks like policies. It looks like restrictions. It looks like quiet pressure and subtle threats. When powerful people are afraid, they don't shout. They tighten control. Real fear shows itself through increased monitoring, stricter rules, and sudden resistance to change. It's the fear of losing dominance, not survival. Because once people start thinking clearly, authority loses its strongest weapon, ignorance. If you notice resistance every time you grow smarter, sharper, more disciplined, understand this fear has already acknowledged your strength. Silence from power doesn't mean safety. It means preparation. Control is easy when people don't understand their own value. That's why systems invest so much energy into distraction. Noise keeps people busy. Confusion keeps them dependent. Ignorance keeps them obedient. The moment someone learns how things really work, money, influence, psychology, structure, control weakens. You don't need rebellion to break chains. You need understanding. Knowledge removes fear, and without fear, control collapses. That's why learning is discouraged when it goes beyond surface level. Because informed individuals don't need supervision, they become self-directed, and that's unacceptable to systems built on dependency. Someone who studies everything doesn't rush. They observe. They listen more than they speak. They learn from mistakes, both their own and others. That makes them dangerous, not because they want conflict, but because they avoid unnecessary losses. A person who studies everything sees patterns others miss. They recognize manipulation early. They understand timing. And they know when to move and when to stay silent. That kind of intelligence can't be controlled with threats. Systems fear people who don't act emotionally, because emotional people can be provoked. Strategic people cannot. Knowledge creates patience, and patience creates power. There is no such thing as ordinary. There are only people who haven't realized their capacity yet. Most are buried under routine, responsibility, and exhaustion. But when someone wakes up mentally, the label disappears. Ordinary people built civilizations. They created revolutions. They changed industries, not because they were special, but because they became aware. Awareness turns potential into force. If you feel different, it's not because you're above others. It's because you're choosing growth over comfort. And that choice separates you faster than talent ever could. Systems don't collapse from violence. They collapse from awareness. When people understand how they're being used, the system loses legitimacy. Obedience fades. Compliance slows. Efficiency drops. Awakened minds don't destroy systems. They outgrow them. And that's far more dangerous, because once enough people outgrow a system, it becomes irrelevant. This is why education that encourages critical thinking is often restricted. Because once minds awaken, control becomes optional, and optional control is no control at all. Using people as tools is not new. It's one of the oldest strategies in history. Labor, influence, sacrifice, all was demanded from the many to protect the few. What changes is how subtly it's done. Today, people are used through pressure, debt, dependency, and distraction. They're kept busy surviving, so they never have time to question why survival feels so hard. But once someone sees this pattern, they can't unsee it. And a person who can't be used becomes a problem for systems built on exploitation. Awareness doesn't shout, it doesn't argue. It simply changes behavior. And that's why it's disruptive. When people become aware, they stop reacting and start choosing. Aware individuals don't chase validation. They don't panic under pressure. They don't follow crowds blindly. They calculate. And calculated individuals don't fit into chaotic systems. Nothing disrupts control more effectively than calm, informed decision-making. That's real power, and it doesn't need permission. Progress exposes inefficiency. It reveals outdated methods. It threatens comfort. Those in power fear progress not because it's dangerous, but because it's uncontrollable. Progress doesn't ask for approval. It happens whether authority is ready or not. And once people see better options, they don't accept old limitations. That's why resistance always appears disguised as protection or stability. But real progress doesn't destroy stability. It replaces false stability with real growth. Orders can stop actions. They cannot stop thinking. Growth continues silently, even under pressure, even under surveillance, especially under resistance. When orders fail, systems panic. Because growth that continues despite opposition proves independence, and independence can't be negotiated with threats. If you keep growing despite obstacles, understand this: you've already won the most important battle, the one over your mind. Nothing threatens power more than someone who can't be bought. No bribes, no promises, no fear, just principles and strategy. People who cannot be bought don't rush decisions. They don't sacrifice long-term goals for short-term comfort. That integrity creates influence without authority. Systems rely on incentives to control behavior. Remove that leverage, and you remove their advantage. Silence keeps you underestimated. Discipline keeps you consistent. Intelligence keeps you adaptable. Together, they form an unstoppable combination. Loud people attract attention. Silent people attract results. Discipline allows progress when motivation fails. Intelligence ensures progress goes in the right direction. These aren't dramatic weapons. They're subtle. And that's why they work. No system can fight what it cannot predict. You become untouchable not through aggression, but through mastery. Mastery of yourself, your emotions, your decisions, your time. Knowledge removes dependence. Control removes vulnerability. Together, they create freedom that doesn't need validation. And when you reach that point, power stops trying to control you and starts trying to understand you, because you're no longer part of the system. You're operating above it. At some point, you understand that life isn't just about surviving day to day. It's about positioning, about seeing the board while others are stuck staring at a single square. This realization changes everything. You stop reacting emotionally and start moving intentionally. Most people never realize they're in a system designed to keep them busy, tired, and distracted. But once you see it, you can't go back. You begin to notice how effort is rewarded selectively, and how obedience is often mistaken for loyalty. This awareness doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you careful. You stop wasting energy on meaningless battles and focus on moves that actually change your future. Chaos exposes weakness. Loud reactions, impulsive decisions, emotional responses. These are liabilities when pressure rises. Calm people, however, think clearly when others panic. Staying calm doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to think before acting. In environments full of noise, calm becomes a competitive advantage. People trust those who don't lose control. History shows this repeatedly. Leaders who stayed composed during crisis outperformed those driven by emotion. Calm isn't passive, it's powerful. Explaining yourself endlessly is a form of permission seeking. The day you stop doing that is the day your confidence becomes visible. You realize that results speak louder than words. People who doubt you don't need explanations. They need time. Time to watch you succeed without their approval. Silence becomes your strongest response. When you stop explaining, you reclaim energy. That energy goes into execution, growth, and strategy instead of convincing people who are never going to support you anyway. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline shows up even when you don't feel like it. The most successful people aren't always inspired. They're consistent. They act even when it's boring, uncomfortable, or slow. That consistency compounds into dominance. Discipline builds trust with yourself. And once you trust yourself, hesitation disappears. You move faster because you no longer argue with your own mind. Outgrowing people is uncomfortable. Conversations feel shallow. Goals feel misaligned. You start realizing that staying means shrinking. This doesn't mean others are wrong. It means you're changing. Growth demands new environments, new standards, and sometimes new loneliness. Leaving the room isn't betrayal. It's self-respect. Staying where you no longer belong costs more than walking away. Manipulation works on emotional predictability. Once you control your reactions, manipulation fails. You become difficult to provoke, pressure, or rush. Being hard to manipulate doesn't make you cold. It makes you grounded. You listen more, react less, and choose carefully. Systems and people alike lose interest in controlling those they can't influence emotionally. Emotional control equals strategic freedom. Most people trade long-term success for short-term comfort. They choose ease now and struggle later. Long-term thinkers reverse that equation. Thinking long-term means sacrificing applause today for stability tomorrow. It means building skills quietly while others chase attention. This mindset isn't popular, but it's rare, and rarity creates advantage. Announcing plans feels productive, but it often replaces action. Real builders move quietly, letting results speak. When you stop announcing, you avoid interference, doubt, and unnecessary opinions. Focus deepens, execution improves, silence protects momentum, and momentum is fragile. Guard it carefully. Emotional control isn't suppression, it's regulation. You still feel, but you don't let feelings dictate decisions. This skill separates professionals from amateurs. Under pressure, emotionally controlled people perform while others collapse. Mastering this makes you reliable, and reliability attracts opportunities that talent alone never will. Validation is addictive. Applause feels good, but it fades quickly. Growth lasts longer. When you stop chasing validation, you start respecting your own standards. That internal approval becomes enough. Ironically, the moment you stop seeking approval is often when respect starts coming naturally. Leverage is about maximizing impact with minimal effort. It's intelligence applied to effort. Hard work matters, but smart work multiplies it. Leverage comes from skills, knowledge, timing, and positioning. Once you understand leverage, you stop exhausting yourself and start optimizing results. Rush decisions often come from fear. Fear of missing out, fear of falling behind. Patience removes that fear. You learn that not every opportunity deserves a yes. Some deserve observation. Some deserve silence. Slowing down your decisions speeds up your long-term success. Early on, people try to prove themselves. Later, they focus on building something undeniable. Proving is emotional. Building is practical. Builders don't argue, they construct. Once you start building, opinions lose importance. Structure replaces noise. Energy is finite. Attention is currency. You stop wasting both on people, arguments, and situations that don't move you forward. Protecting energy isn't selfish, it's strategic. Burnout helps no one. Focused energy creates momentum. Scattered energy creates exhaustion. Taking full responsibility changes everything. You stop blaming circumstances, people, or systems and start analyzing how you can control outcomes. Growth begins the instant excuses end. When you own your actions completely, every mistake becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes an opportunity. Responsibility isn't about being harsh on yourself. It's about clarity. When you see where you truly stand, you understand what must be done. Others may avoid responsibility because it's uncomfortable, but you realize discomfort is the price of real progress. Those who embrace responsibility consistently outperform those who dodge it. You stop waiting for external validation and start building results that speak for themselves. Power, influence, and respect always follow those who refuse to hide behind excuses. Talent can open doors, but consistency keeps them open. A person with average ability but unrelenting consistency outperforms the most gifted people who work sporadically. It's the daily effort, the small decisions, and the repeated actions that compound into unstoppable momentum. Consistency is often invisible in the short term, which is why people undervalue it. But systems and opportunities eventually recognize it. The person who shows up every day, even when it's hard, creates trust, reliability, and results that cannot be ignored. This is why champions exist quietly, while others chase recognition. Talent fades without action, but consistent effort builds long-term dominance. Commit to your routine, your craft, and your goals, and you will outlast everyone who relies on talent alone. Impatience is the enemy of progress. People rush decisions, relationships, and projects, thinking speed equals success. Strategic patience is different. It's the art of waiting with purpose, observing and planning while others react impulsively. Patience allows you to see patterns, evaluate risks, and time your actions for maximum impact. While others burn out chasing quick wins, you are preparing for long-term victories that last. Patience is never passive. It's deliberate, intentional, and powerful. History is filled with examples. Those who waited for the right moment achieved monumental results, while the impatient acted prematurely and faltered. Learn to value timing over impulse, because the right move at the right moment changes everything. The world moves too fast for anyone to stop learning. Each day presents new challenges, new technologies, and new ways to excel or fall behind. Lifelong learners are the ones who remain relevant, adaptable, and ahead of the competition. Learning isn't just collecting facts. It's understanding patterns, human behavior, and systems. It's applying knowledge in ways that create advantage. The person who studies relentlessly gains foresight, insight, and perspective that most will never reach. Commitment to learning transforms mindset. It cultivates humility, curiosity, and resilience. The moment you stop learning, you start shrinking. So keep absorbing, analyzing, and improving relentlessly. Seeking permission slows growth. Waiting for approval limits your potential and keeps you tethered to other people's agendas. The moment you act without asking for validation is the moment you reclaim control of your life. People who take initiative become leaders, not followers. They define their own rules, create their own opportunities, and move faster than anyone who waits for someone else's nod. Boldness is magnetic. Action inspires respect. Success favors those who act decisively. Waiting for permission delays outcomes, risks momentum, and invites doubt. When you move independently, the world adjusts to you, not the other way around. Actions speak louder than words. Talking about plans, ideas, or goals might make you feel productive, but silent action produces results. Those who act quietly focus on execution, while others get lost in noise. Silent action also protects your energy. Every plan broadcasted invites criticism, sabotage, or distraction. By keeping your work under wraps, you conserve focus and build results before anyone can interfere. The most influential people often work in silence. Let your results do the talking. Momentum and success are far more convincing than promises, explanations, or excuses. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances, people, and opportunities change constantly. Adaptability isn't just survival. It's a competitive advantage. Those who pivot quickly, learn fast, and adjust strategies dominate their environments. Rigid plans break under pressure. Flexible plans survive and thrive. The adaptable individual reads situations, assesses risk, and responds with precision. This ability to flow through challenges creates a sense of control that others envy. Adaptability also inspires confidence. People naturally follow those who remain steady, yet flexible. You become a force that others rely on, even when chaos surrounds them. Mental toughness is more valuable than talent, education, or connections. It's the ability to persevere, endure setbacks, and keep moving when others give up. Toughness allows you to face challenges without hesitation and push beyond limits. Setbacks are inevitable, but mental toughness transforms them into stepping stones. The mind trained to endure will always find solutions, create opportunities, and recover faster than those who crumble under pressure. Every great achievement in history was first conquered in the mind. Strengthen your mental resilience, and you'll find that obstacles lose their power over you. Intentions are easy, action is hard. Anyone can say they will do something, but only the few who act consistently achieve results. Words without action are empty, while action generates momentum, experience, and credibility. Acting also builds confidence. Each completed task reinforces self-trust, demonstrating that you can rely on yourself. Momentum compounds with action, while hesitation only delays results. Success is rarely waiting for permission. It's forged by those who act decisively. Start today, act deliberately, and watch as small steps lead to extraordinary outcomes. Courage isn't a momentary feeling, it's a habit. It's choosing action over fear repeatedly until boldness becomes natural. The courageous don't need external reassurance. They act because they understand the stakes. Habitual courage transforms lives. You stop avoiding difficult decisions, confront challenges head-on, and create opportunities where others see obstacles. Courage is not absence of fear, it's mastery of it. By practicing courage daily, you become unstoppable. Fear no longer dictates your choices, and risks become opportunities for growth instead of reasons to retreat. Energy is finite, attention is valuable, and focus is rare. People scatter their energy across distractions, social validation, and meaningless tasks. Focused energy, however, produces results far beyond ordinary effort. Concentration allows deep work. It creates skill, speed, and precision that multitasking can't replicate. Those who control their energy dominate their outcomes while others struggle to keep pace. Protect your focus as fiercely as your time. Focused energy isn't just productivity. It's a magnet for opportunity, influence, and results. Overnight success is a myth. True success comes from relentless work when no one is watching. Outworking others silently builds competence, endurance, and results without the drama of attention-seeking. The people who appear lucky are usually the ones who have outworked far beyond the spotlight. They master skills quietly, grind consistently, and execute flawlessly. When you outwork everyone, you create a foundation of excellence that cannot be ignored. Results speak louder than any hype or chatter. Prioritizing yourself isn't selfish, it's smart. When you invest in your skills, mindset, and health, you strengthen the foundation for everything else in life. Without it, no achievement lasts. Strategic self-prioritization means saying no to distractions, negative influences, and energy drains. It means protecting your resources to focus on what matters most. When you put yourself first in strategy and preparation, you naturally inspire others to respect your boundaries, decisions, and leadership. Challenges test limits, reveal weaknesses, and push boundaries. While many avoid difficulty, the most successful people embrace it. Every problem carries a lesson. Every obstacle carries opportunity. The difference lies in perspective. Those who see challenges as setbacks stagnate. Those who see challenges as fuel accelerate. Learning from adversity transforms trials into tools for growth. Embracing challenges cultivates resilience, wisdom, and confidence. Life becomes less about luck and more about deliberate mastery over circumstance. True influence comes when you stop following and start setting standards. People measure themselves against you, not the other way around. You define excellence, discipline, and performance in ways others aspire to emulate. Becoming the standard requires consistency, mastery, and courage. It demands visible results and invisible